Hello, I was recently contacted by a guy who watched my previous video on how to build the Java Chromium embedded framework for Windows, and he wanted me to build a C++ application also using the Chromium embedded framework, but the idea was that the size had to be like 30 megabytes or less. So after like 1 month of trying to do it, I finally managed to build it and make it work with a little bit of older version. So yeah, here it is, the actual application here. So 30 megabytes and it works pretty well. So it took me quite a long time to do that. So I decided to record a video and hopefully help you build it a little bit faster for yourself, because older versions tend to be really tricky to build, as we'll see. And the version I chose to build Chromium embedded framework on was the branch 2785, which is from around late 2016. The reason I chose this because it's relatively new. It supports new features like CSS and JavaScript, and also it's the first branch to support the GN type of building instead of the old GYP. But I plan to create another video which I'm going to build an even older version like Chromium 39, because this one is using Chromium 53, I think, yeah. So I'm planning to do another video on an even older version. So what else I'm going to show in this video is how to reduce the size before and after the build. Also, please note that if you're watching this in the future, like 1 year later, you might have additional issues because some of the dependencies might be moved from their repositories no longer existing and something like that. So you have to resolve them manually, but in this video I'm also going to show a nice approach for searching and finding the correct version of that dependency that you might be looking for. So with that being said, let's start building the framework. We are going to keep those in mind because in the future we're going to need them. So let's see here. Let's go to source. First let's add this, so CEF like that. Now let's choose our branch here, and let's also add it to the quick link, so CEF 2785, so we can access it a little bit faster. So now let's see, the latest date here seems to be like November, maybe. Yeah. So the latest Chromium embedded framework date is what is this? 2016 November 18th. So now let's see for the Chromium. Go to Chromium compatibility list. Let's copy the version. Go to Google and type Chromium Repo. Here it is. So let's add this as well, like that. Now let's go here to tags, click on more, and now control find, paste the version and go to that specific tag. Also let's add it here, so Chromium 53, just to have it here. So what is this? September 13th 2016. So 2016 September 13th, like that. So now we have those dates, and now we can more easily navigate once we go forward. Like for example with the wiki here, we have to look for 2016 November somewhere. So let's scroll down, 2016 November. So now we have to search for the proper branch. Here it is, update build instructions for this branch. Okay, and actually let's go to this one, because as you can see it says add GN build guidance, so we are going to use that. Yeah, here you can see. So I'll go to that branch. I'll have Probably I might have a copy of the commit hash somewhere. I'll see, but we're going to this branch, so double click. Okay, so now what we can do, we can go to the wiki, we can find the file, let's see, master build quick start. We can edit this and go to a site named Stackedit. I'm also going to add this here as a shortcut. So just paste your code here so we can see it a little easier. And I guess now we can start following those instructions. The first section is file structure. This is not really necessary, but we're going to make it like it's said here in order to make it as smooth as possible. So let's go to my computer. And by the way, for this build, I would say you need about maybe 60 gigabytes or maybe 80 free. So please make sure that we have that. So what do we have here? Okay. So folder named code. Inside we have automate Chromium _git. Depot tools. Okay. And so for now this is going to be it, because we will have to download some of these things here. So going down to Windows setup, this is what we're going to follow. First we're going to need that specific SDK installed, but actually we're going to get to that in a bit. Okay, so before we jump into those into the second section, first we have to open another wiki. So I'll just remove those two tabs and let's go to Chromium build old revision. Here it is. So I'll just add it here, so that's easier for me later to share those links with you. So here it says get a compatible depot tools, because this is from 2016 and those depot tools are from time before that. So we'll have to manually install this. So let's go depot tools. Sorry. Okay, so let's go to that. We'll need to execute this command. So I'm going to execute it here in that code folder that we just created. So I'm pasting that. Okay, so it's done. Now what we're going to make is we're going to add it to the source tree. We're going to open that, and now we're going to find a version that is from around the same time that our Chromium embedded framework is built. So this is November 2016. So let's find that. So let's scroll down to 2016. Oh, that's a little older. Okay. So yeah, here's one from November. Okay, so let's choose this one. And if there are any errors, we're going to choose another one, another commit. So I'm going to this one. Okay, so what else we have to do now, since we don't want our depot tools to update, and they update by using Git. We're going to rename this to just Git, so this is no longer a repository, and therefore it won't update. So now let's add it to the environment variables. So the path edit, remove that by the way, Windows apps, and add the new code depot tools. Yeah. Okay, so now to install depot tools, we just need to open the CMD inside that folder and type gclient. So this is also specified, I think, somewhere here. Yeah. So if you read this documentation, you'll have a better understanding. So I'm just running it, and now it's installing Python and some other programs as well. Okay, so it's done. Now, how you can test this? Just type Python, and it will, as you can see, we have here one python.bat, so it should run this. Yeah, so now we have Python running. If we type exit, we're out. So now we have depot tools installed, and the next thing is actually to proceed with the Windows setup section from our wiki. Now the next thing is to install the Visual Studio 2015. So let's go and say Visual Studio 2015 download. Now go to that link here in Stack Overflow, because there's a guy that posted those links that you can just grab and install them. So choose the Enterprise Edition, click on the web installer. Also, I'll just copy that link, by the way, and I'm going to provide it if this is no longer available, but it should be. Click on that. And as I said, I'm going to install it live, so you can see exactly what I'm doing, so we can get this right from the first time. Okay, so let's choose custom for now. Okay, so programming language, just choose this C++. This is not required. Common tools, what's that? No, that's not required as well. Okay, so just C++ is required for now. Click next. And click install. Okay. So while this is installing, we're going to just find this SDK. So let's just copy that. Windows 10 SDK. Let's see. Previous SDK versions. Okay, so this is, I guess, a page where we can find all SDKs. So let me just copy these numbers here. So let's paste it, and here is this SDK that we want to install. So install SDK. I'm also going to save that link and provide it to you. Copy link. So like that. And yeah, we'll have to install the SDK, but let's wait, I guess, until this Visual Studio installation is complete, and then we'll proceed with SDK installation. So I'll be back in whenever this is installed. Also, while Visual Studio is installing, you can save some time by going to the Chromium Repo website, and actually you can clone your repository if you have fast enough internet to support installing and cloning as well. Just go to your C directory somewhere for now. Let's say maybe in the root directory. Open up CMD and just clone it. So like that. I have actually already cloned this, so I'll skip this. Here's my copy. Later on, we're just gonna manually paste it in our Chromium Git folder, but we'll get into that once the Visual Studio is installed. But for now, if you have fast internet, just run this command simultaneously to save time. Okay, so Visual Studio completed successfully. It just prompted me to restart. Now, also I hope that you have managed to download the Chromium project. Now let's go ahead and install the Windows SDK that we just downloaded. Okay, so that is appropriate. Also, by the way, make sure you leave it on the default location to prevent any errors during the build. You can leave everything here, no problem. Okay, so now this should take like maybe 10 minutes, so I'll be back when it's completed, and we're going to make a quick test to see if Visual Studio is working, and then we're going to proceed with the actual build. Okay, so Windows SDK just completed successfully for me, and now I have this simple application just to show that it's running. So let's go to properties. Let's see if the SDK is present. Here it is. Let's print something. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so that's pretty much it. It works. So now let's, I guess, start with the build. Moving on with the build. Now we did this. You can see the requirements. So now we already did this. We created those directories. We already downloaded the depot tools and installed that. Okay, so now we have to download this automate git.py. So save. Let's save it on the desktop. Okay, so I'll actually provide that same version of the file because in the future it might be different. For now it works, so I'll leave it as a resource. Okay, so we need to copy that and paste it right here. Okay, so create update.bat file in the Chromium Git directory with those parameters. Alright, so let's do that. Chromium_git, create new file. Okay. Paste those. So let's see if the directories are okay. So yeah, that's C. Make sure those match for you as well. Use GN should be 1 because we're using the new GN build tool. we don't need this. I'll explain why in the future. And okay, let's save this, and I guess now we'll have to run it. I just forgot that actually we'll have to add this line as well. This is for reasons such as the pod tools doesn't want to recognize that we have Visual Studio installed, so just add that. And also I'm going to copy that file here. Now add it on the desktop so I can add it as a resource later. Alright. Next, now we need to, if you remember that repository that I told you to clone, now we need to, actually let's rename this to src, like so. And let's cut it from here, Control C, and add a new folder inside update, it's inside this folder, call it Chromium, and go here and paste it. So the structure is code chromium_git update, and then inside Chromium we have the src. This will save basically the script from downloading the repository again. That's why I told you before to save time. So now let's open the console and let's create our checkout. So we need to check out our repository to that current tag. So in order to do that, just say git checkout tags / the tag, and then the name of the branch. I'll just name it the same as the tag, so it's easy. Okay, so I'll be back when this thing is done, so because it takes a bit of time. So we just switch to the branch. Now let's run the update.bat. So this will basically create one folder here, CEF, which will contain the Chromium embedded framework. And actually one thing that I just remember that I had to type here is branch, and branch will be let's see, it will equal to 2785. So it knows which branch to download and which revision of Chromium to use. Okay, so with that being said, let me just copy that to the desktop. With that being said, let's run update.bat and let's see what happens. This takes like maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So again, I'll be back when this is done, or if there's any errors, I'll also come back. Okay, so the command completed successfully for me. Let me just show you the log. So we just cloned the CEF, then here it just stated our desired commit, so 2785, which is the branch commit. So what else? It just fetched some new tags here. Also, it just saw that we are already in that checkout, so we just left it out. And then here it just said copying directory to the CEF directory to here in the CRC folder. So let me just show you that. Chromium src CEF. So here it is. Here's that folder. All right. So continuing with the other sections here on the wiki. Alright, so before jumping into this 7th line here, first we need to actually sync our project. So go to building code revisions again, and you can see here that where it says sync dependencies. Now this is something like, if you haven't done it, this is something like Maven install in Java. So basically it has to sync all those dependencies. So copy that and I'll actually paste it in that file so it's easier for you then to read. And then also now we need to go to let me open up a new window in the SRC directly. So go here, open up CMD. By the way, you can just type CMD, it will do the same thing. So press that command here and let it go. So it will most probably have cause an error here, I know that, but we'll just let it run for the first time to show you what's the error and how to potentially fix it. So I'll be back when this is done. Okay, so I got an error here. Here it is. Git checkout this return non-zero. Basically, what this says is that this commit hash is no longer present. So what we need to do now, we need to find another commit that is from around the same time that this Chromium was built, so we can continue our build process. So let's go to SRC, and now this is, you can see this is called, actually this is a directory of the dependency. So third party web RTC, third party web RTC. WebRTC, by the way, is responsible for things such as voice over IP in our browsers. So here we have an empty repository. Now let's open up source 3. Let's add it here. Okay, so new page. Let's add it. Okay, so as you can see, this is the last commit is September 2017, and this commit is basically moving this inside Chrome. It's no longer an outside dependency, but whatever. Now we have to go back. If you remember, in our file, Chromium latest date is September 13, 2016. So we need to go to that time somewhere and find another commit. So 2016, November, October, September. Okay, so let's see. It's September 13, but let's choose something like a few days before that, because you're not really sure when exactly did they add it. So I don't know. Let's go with September 6th, somewhere. Okay, let's go with this one. Okay. Choose this. Alright, so if we go now to WebRTC, you can see that we have some files. Let's go back to the SRC folder. You can't sync the force. Let's run it again, and this time actually it will be faster because those dependencies are already synced. So we only need to sync that WebRTC. So let's see what happens. Okay, so actually one thing that I forgot to do is, you can see that we got the same error. This is because, yeah, we did commit to this, but we didn't actually update our dependency file. So copy the commit hash, go to SRC, find a file called deps. Here it is. Edit, and now Control F and search for WebRTC. It's not that. here it is. So you can see that the old hash, which is stated that is not found here, replace it with that new hash that we are sure that exists. Go back here, open up the CMD, and actually one thing that I forgot the last time is we need to copy we need to copy that line, so we need to execute it here like so, and then gclient sync the force. Okay, let's try again. Also, now if we open up another window here and say git status, you can see that we have one file modified, which is the depths. So for now, one modification has been done. Okay, so syncing was completed successfully. Now it's going to download some additional dependencies that they are more like binary files that Chromium also relies on. So this takes around, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to come back when it's done. Okay, so actually my command completed this time successfully. It actually even created an output for then building the project. So if you go to out, here it is. But actually we don't need this because this is for building only Chromium. We need to build Chromium embedded framework. So I'll delete that out directory that was just created. So deleting this. Now, since this completed successfully, we can continue forward with going back to our wiki and going back to line number 7. Now we need to create a file called create.bat inside the CEF, inside the Chromium. So go to CEF, here, create new file called create.bat, like so. I'm going to copy those lines. Okay. Now, as I said the first time, we don't need this line. This line is basically, it helps our PC to build the project faster, but actually increases the total size with a couple of megabytes. But if you're okay with that, you can leave it, but I can't because my project needs to be smaller in size. So I'm commenting this line. This can be left out, there's no problem with it. Now also we need to add one more line here, which is again that set default toolchain. Here, let's set it to 0. Alright, so with that being said, we can go back here, cd CEF. So we're inside the CEF directory now, and run the create.bat, and let's see what happens. Also those patches here, I'll also show them. We have an error. We'll figure it out in a second, but let me just show you those patches that were created. So let's open up source tree. This is actually the Chromium repository. I'll show you. So this is the file that we just changed the dependency. Everything else here was just patched by Chromium Embedded Framework. As you can see, it added its own things. For example, here you can see some additional logic. So we should leave this, we shouldn't discard it because it's required. So I just wanted you to sort of know what's going on and to know where those changes come from. Now, going back here, we can see that the error comes from WebRTC BUILD.gn. And WebRTC, if you remember, is the dependency that was actually missing, and we manually resolved it. So WebRTC build, right, let me see, BUILD.gn. So I guess this one online, let me see, RTC include, let's see if we can find it. Yeah, here it is. So usually if we have the dependency matching perfectly, we shouldn't have those errors. So that suggests that we can go ahead now and fix this, but the problem is that if this is wrong, maybe something else is wrong as well. So my suggestion is go back to that WebRTC repository and try to adjust, maybe search a newer or later or older commit and stick with it. So here we're with September 6th. For me, I think that is pretty new. So my suggestion is to go back and see if some older commit works. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to start going back, and I'll come back when I find a matching actual commit that will compile. Okay, so I managed to find a commit that will work. It's from actually July 9th, 2016, so it's pretty older than I originally thought. So how I found it, this probably will be helpful for you. Now here 116 was our current version, so 116, here it is. So if you go to depths here and search for WebRTC, and you can see that this is the original commit. And now going back, for example, to, I don't know, let's see, 88, and we go to depths again. So where are depths? Here it is, WebRTC. You can see that it's still the same. The commit is still the same. So that means that this file, this depths file, is from August 30th. So you can imagine that it can't be September, since this commit is from August and is still using the same commit hash. So using that logic, I came back and I saw that one of those was using a different, and then I compared the dates, and that's how I ended up with this particular commit. So with that being said, let's go back here and let's run the create. Actually, yeah, we can now run the create.bat because we've already updated our WebRTC here. Yeah. Otherwise, if we hadn't done this, we had to run gclient sync again to update the dependencies, but it's not required now. Running create.bat, and let's see what happens. Okay, so it completed successfully. Let's see, if we go to out now, you can see that we have those 4 folders. Now I'm going to build the release x86 and maybe debug x86, but for now release is enough. How to do that? From here, just cd back to the src folder, clean, and let's go with Ninja. Ninja is installed with depot2, so you have it installed, no problem. Ninja c out release x86, and now we need to by the way, I'm getting this, if you're wondering, from here. Here it is. So we need to copy those two names here, those two applications that we want to build. So they're showing with debug, but I'm doing a release, building those two. And now this is going to start building the project. Now this takes a lot of time, maybe, I don't know, 2 hours, depending on your system. I have an i7 and an SSD, so I have pretty fast system, and it takes like an hour and a half. So yeah, it's a long time. Also, make sure you have 8 or 16 gigabytes of RAM, because it will run out of memory. I've seen problems on the internet with that. So that being said, let's run the command, and you can see it started compiling. Now I'm going to leave here, and I'm going to come back when this is done, or if there are any errors during the build, I'm also going to come back. Okay, so it's complete. It took like an hour and a half, but I had to go somewhere else, so I'm coming a little later. Anyway, if you go to src out and then release folder, if you search for CEF client, you can see that we have it. So let's quickly verify by typing what is the version of my browser. So Chromium 53, which is exactly what we built. And yeah, also if we look at here, libcef.dll, you can see the size here is 47.970 kilobytes, and also I have just downloaded from this website, I'll leave a link in the description, the official build, which is provided by Chromium Embedded Framework. I just extracted this, and you can see that their libcef.dll is 50 megabytes, and this is because in the create.bat, let me just scroll there quickly. So create.bat, I just commented this fast link. Actually, they're using something else as well. They're, instead of actually using is win fast link, they're using is official build equals true in the same underscore type of casing, and is debug equals true, so something like is debug false. Sorry, they're using this in order to achieve this official build, but because we want smaller sizes, we are sticking with this. Okay, so what are we going to do now? I guess let's extract all the required files in order to import them into an application. So this is going to be, actually I'm going to just take a look from the official build. So that's the official build. I'm going to create a new folder here, let's call it release, and now I'm going to go inside that, just a second here because there's too many folders, src out release, and basically I'm going to find all files that are here, like for example, let me see, starting with the first one, which is vocals. I'm going to copy this here, and you can do the same for all these files. Okay, so those are about the most of the files. You can see that I've added libcef.dll.lib. This is required to import the library. Later on I'll show how. Also there's one thing called libcef.dll wrapper. So we need this and this. I'm going to copy those. This is not required to run the application. Those actually 3, they are not required to run the application, but they are required to import it. So with that being said, if we click here, we are opening Google successfully. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show, actually there are 2 things more left. The first one is some ideas on how to reduce the size further, and the second one is importing it into a sample application that I'll provide right now. Okay, so reducing the size. First of all, we have to sort of keep in mind that by reducing the size, we can limit some of the other functionalities like 3D GPU acceleration and things like that. So CEF by default doesn't need some of the files here that are just like libcef is for graphics acceleration. So if you don't need that, you can delete those 2 files, like I'm going to do right now. So this one is not required, this one as well, and those 2. And from the languages, you can delete everything except the US, like that. So we're left with about 100 megabytes. Yeah, that's because those 3 files here, they're not really required. So we're left with 59 megabytes, and you can see that we are still managing to run the application. It's working good. It should even be able to play a YouTube video, although we don't have GPU acceleration. Let's see. Something. Sorry. So yeah, it's working. All right. So now what else we can do here? We can go in the internet and search for UPX, like that, download. So I'm using the Windows, so yeah, there it is. Okay, so I'll place it on the desktop. Let me extract. Okay. So what we can use UPX, usually UPX is used to lower the size of exe files, but you can use it for DLLs as well. And it's great that because DLLs are not really problematic for antiviruses. So UPX -9, which is to use the highest compression, and then libcef.dll. Okay, so here it is. It's now reduced to 70 megabytes from 47, which is quite a lot. So now if we check the size is about 29 megabytes, and run it still works. So that's how we managed to reduce the size from about 100 megabytes to 29, and this is like one of the methods to do it. So I'm going to show another one. So going back to going back to the build, so Chromium, I'm going to rename this directory, so underscore. By the way, to quickly check something like that while we're working. Alright, so I did that because now I'm going to create another sort of another output. So, and also this applies if you want to make any changes to the code. So if you now go ahead, for example, I don't know, let's say here, no, if you go, I don't know, V8, I don't know, for example, and if you go ahead and make a change to this here, add something or remove something, you only need to save it and then come back to here, go to CEF and run that create.bat again, and you have your updated project and you can build it with Ninja and you have your custom build. So in order to reduce the size, we can go, for example, to build config, and there's one file called features.gni. So here is specified some things like enable plugin installation and things like that. What else? Let me see. Enable web speech. Basically, if you don't want it, just set it to false. Enable themes, for example, set it to false. This reduces the size. The problem is that some of those things require additional changes in order to make them work. So you might change it just to false, but then in the code you have to change some other things, but I'll show you the basic idea. So coming back here, open up a CMD, cd CEF, create again, and let's see. So yeah, as you can see, we just did get an error. So enable themes assertion error. That means that this here must be true, like always. So okay, I save that and let's see if we can create a build with only enable web speech being false. Okay, so going back, saying Ninja out release 36 CEF simple CEF client. Yeah. As you can see, if you remember the first time we had to do 18,181, and now you can see that we have few objects less to build. That means that the overall build will be actually smaller in size compared to the previous one. So I'm not going to guarantee on that. It's up to you. If you have any syntax error, you get an error here and you have to manually go and fix it. So I'll just demonstrate quickly such error so you'll be able to fix it by yourself. So now, by the way, the size of the whole thing is currently 40 gigabytes, so you can have that in mind. Okay, so let's go to actually out. I'll remove it for now. And while this is removing, I'll go here just to I want to make a simple syntax error. So let's open this file and I don't know, let's type a bunch of nonsense like this, and here let's say like that. Now here we can go cd CEF again, create.bat, and before that, no, just run it. Okay, so cd back and run the Ninja again. And now when it comes to that particular file, you have an error here. I'll wait just a little bit to get the error to show it to you. So I'll be back when the error pops up. And the error just popped up 1 second after I closed the video. No problem. You can see that this thing is undefined, missing something on line 41 and 42. If we come here, yeah, let me just bring this back to its default values like that. So 41 is here. Yeah, yeah. So now instead of having to remove that folder again, I can just remove those two lines. I actually, yeah, like it was, and instead of now removing this out directory again, we can just cd CEF create.bat over this, and it will overwrite all the changes. Yeah, I accidentally added z here. I don't know why. I'll just say like that, discard. This is in the Chromium Repo. So create.bat. And you can see that we still have those files. We haven't written them, we haven't deleted them. So okay, so running Ninja again, you can see that we actually reduced the number of remaining items, because the items that were already compiled are staying there. You're not touching them, only if they are changed already. So that's pretty good, because you can go to 17,000 and have an error, and then you can just fix your error, run the create.bat again, and you'll be with only 1000 objects left. So that's it for editing and reducing the size, and what's left is to show you that sample application. Alright, so this is my sample application. Now it's in private mode, but it will soon be public. So I've actually just cloned this repository on my desktop, so here it is. Opening up, in dependencies, you can see that we have in release, we will have those files that I just mentioned that we're going to need. So I can just copy the new ones, which are basically the same, and paste them here. And also I'll have to rename that to just DLL, like so. Usually the runtimes are located here, but in my case I'm going to copy those files from here, and I'm going to go into the I'll actually have to create a new folder, release, go here, copy those without that, like so, copy them here, and now just use the solution. This is a solution for Visual Studio 2017, but I think it should run on 2015 as well. We'll see about it. Okay, so it is importing some files here. Okay, so let's see the configuration for release. Alright, so we need to set up this SDK, because as you can see for Visual Studio 2017, sort of okay. And let's try to build this and see. Okay, so I think it managed to build successfully. Now I'm going to go to that folder. No, not this one. To the project folder release, and you can see that we have this big wall of files that we just created, which I don't really need for now because there's just debug information. Now this is the application that we're left with. So 30.5.6.7, somewhere in that neighborhood. Double click, and here it is. So sample application. Of course, I will provide that up. So as you can see, it works great. So I think that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful, and if you liked it, you can subscribe. As I said, I'll make a video on how to build even older version of Chromium if you want, like 39. So if you are interested in something like that, you can comment below. 39 is really harder to build than this one. This one has only one missing dependency. The Chromium 39 has maybe 20. So yeah, it's much harder. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.